Getting details with the director of the French branch of the NGO. Nigeria says it launched an attack on Boko Haram militants last week, but local reports contest the details of the attack. And Mali's rebels signed an agreement pledging to maintain the country's territorial integrity. Our correspondent in Bamako has more. We open this edition with a scathing report by Human Rights Watch on the ongoing violence in the Central African Republic. The report is called "I Can Still Smell the Dead" and details the horrific killings that have shaken the northwest of the country. Last week, President Michel Djotodia dissolved the Seleka rebel coalition, the very group that brought him to power. North of the capital, around the town of Bosangoa, forces loyal to former President François Bozizé had been banding together to form so-called anti-Balaka groups. A few days ago, clashes with former Seleka rebels left villages burned and civilians dead. Villagers told reporters about what they'd seen.
Our women and girls are raped and some are still suffering. They took everything from us, even our seeds, and we don't have anything to eat. Our children do not have safe drinking water. We live in the bush like animals. We fight against Seleka's men. Right now we are fighting. We want the last president back.
On September the 6th, Muslims who wanted to leave the village called Seleka's people from Basembele. When they arrived, they fired at anything that moved, even innocent civilians. After that, the village was deserted.
The young people who we grew up with got up to kill all Muslims. My 14-year-old boy was killed. His skull was smashed. I cannot stay there because even the military are shot. I fled into the bush to go to Bosangoa after 4 days of walking. I'm staying in a school, but the conditions are very difficult.
Earlier, the French director of Human Rights Watch, Jean-Marie Fardeau, joined us on set. He told us about what the report says about the role of religion in the clashes, knowing the report covers the period of March to June.
At that time, I believe the religion component was less visible and less mentioned by the people. And really the Seleka fighter, which were really making all the horrific killings and rapes and lootings which happened during several months after they took power in March in Bangui. That was really without any clear policy agenda. It is true that some churches were burnt, but many houses which were belonging to Muslim or Christian people were burnt too. So it's really, at that time, it was much more widespread repression, or with a willingness to take as much as possible as goods, motorcycle, everything they could take from the people.
Now, the region where these clashes have taken place is the homeland of former President Bozizé. Given your findings, does that mean there is little chance the violence will spread?
It is possible because it's true that the population is really upset by the way Seleka behaved since March. So it's possible that some groups, maybe connected to Bozizé, are taking and making use of the population to fight against Seleka fighter. But it's not very clear. What is needed really is to have a better protection of these people, and it will not spread as it is feared now. If there is a better protection, if new troops are coming from Central Africa countries, from Gabon, from Congo, from Burundi, with more money from France, from UK, from the US, it's needed. All the people there, they told us, please don't forget us. And they feel completely forgotten.
Mediators in Kampala, Uganda, gave the DRC and M23 rebels 14 days to reach a deal, but it appears representatives from both sides met face-to-face in half that time. The sides say they want to reach a peace agreement, but it's the future status of the rebel group that may prove to be the hardest sticking point in the talks. Gearing up for presidential elections in Madagascar, the EU said Wednesday it'll send 100 observers for the first round of voting on October 25th. Current President Andrazwell ousted former President Marc Ravalomanana in an army-backed coup 4 years ago. Both men have been barred from running in the upcoming election, as has Ravalomanana's wife. The former president's camp has announced it's backing Jean-Louis Robinson, a choice that leaves many Ravalomanana supporters unsatisfied.
A 61-year-old doctor, until now mostly low-level, Jean-Louis Robinson is now in the spotlight for the elections in Madagascar. He has received the heavyweight backing of Marc Ravalomanana from his exile in South Africa. Former Health Minister Robinson has promised to bring back his former boss.
What I would like is for him to be here for the first round. We cannot move too quickly here, but he will be here to show that the people of Madagascar are reconciled.
Supporters of former President Ravalomanan have been calling for his return for months. They had been backing his wife Lalo until her candidacy was rejected. From South Africa, he spoke to supporters by telephone.
I call on you to back Dr. Robinson. I already worked with him to implement a plan of action for Madagascar. He was a part of my government.
The two have a common past and share a vision for the future of the island based on the development of education and health infrastructure. Is this enough to convince supporters of the former president? Not everyone. Why are they asking us to back Robinson? We only support Ravalomanan.
When he returns to the country, we will vote only for him. Papa was kicked out in a coup d'etat, so now he must return.
First he should return home, and then we will see how we vote. If he returns to Madagascar, we will back his candidate, Robinson. If not, we will remain loyal to him.
His support could change the numbers only 1 month from the elections, from which 3 main candidates have been disqualified. The pre-election atmosphere is tense. On Tuesday, a man was killed by a bomb he was making. It was the 4th bomb found since September.
It's the next step in building a government. Mali has announced it'll hold legislative elections starting November 24th. Mali and armed groups made a declaration. Meanwhile, they made a joint declaration on Tuesday in Bamako. They say they're ready to find a definitive solution to the crisis that reached its peak last year when Tuareg and Islamist rebels proclaimed freedom for Mali's north, prompting a French-led intervention to restore the country's territorial integrity. The different delegations were invited by President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta.
Mali's new president, Ibrahima Boubacar Keïta, has made the first tentative step towards peace. He held a 3-day meeting in Bamako with representatives from armed groups in northern Mali. The talks are the first in a series aimed at ensuring peace in the north.
My responsibility to Mali has already been made clear. It is the territorial integrity of the country. That is not negotiable. Everything else is possible, except independence and autonomy.
Representatives from the north said they were satisfied with the outcome of this first round. On Tuesday, it was announced that they had signed an agreement to renounce armed conflict as a means to gain their ends.
It means that everything is negotiable except a breakup of the country. It's necessary to continue negotiations to find a solution that everyone is happy with.
What we need here, and what we hope to have won, is a political will to improve all that needs improvement.
Although certain representatives of the MNLA disagree over the direction the talks have taken, the signatories of the Bamako Agreement said that no behind-the-scenes deals would be made. A contact group has been set up to help the rebels establish a common platform before continuing the negotiations. The next round of talks is expected to focus on development. Critics of the government have long accused it of ignoring the North.
Earlier, I spoke with our correspondent in Bamako, Alex Duval-Smith, who told us why Tuesday's accord is important.
What's important about the accord is that for the first time ever, different armed groups in northern Mali have got together in the same room. That's never happened before. So you have the Arab representatives, you have the representatives of the MNLA, the National Movement for the Liberation of Azawad, as well as civil defense groups who've in the past complained of not being included in talks, all together in one room and speaking with one voice and pledging to create a roadmap, to create a contact group to move forward. However, since the final communique was issued, we've heard from the top leadership of both the Arabs and of the MNLA that they do not adhere to this accord, that the delegations that were sent to Bamako are not representative of the movement of the whole. And if you remember, at the weekend, there was an incident in Kidal in the north of the country where residents stoned a convoy of Malian government representatives who'd come to visit. 3 ministers' cars were attacked. So that just goes to show that, you know, reconciliation is still a long way off in Mali.
Now, on Thursday, a number of heads of state will be attending a ceremony celebrating President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita's arrival in office. Alex explained why they were invited several days after the president's actual inauguration.
Look at the lineup, around about 20 heads of state. The top guests are Alassane Ouattara of Côte d'Ivoire, Déby Itno of Chad, François Hollande of France, all people who've been greatly involved in ridding Mali of the jihadist threat last year. And the lineup of people coming is interesting because it shows that Mali is a country that people want to encourage. Mali is a country that people want to possibly invest in. Mali is Africa's 3rd gold producer. A lot of these facts are coming back into people's minds. I think that explains the size of the event. But as you rightly point out, he has been inaugurated. He's been in power since the 4th of September.
That's the end of this edition of Africa News. Back to you, Mark.
Shona Bhattacharya, thank you very much indeed. Shona back tomorrow with more Africa News. We are taking a short break. After that, we return with another World News update and the latest from Rome. There's been a walkout at the vote on the future of this man. Seema Gupta joins us after the break. Stay with us.